The Federal Board of Intermediate and Secondary Education has embarked on a transformative journey to incorporate AI in its examination system. This innovative move, a first in Pakistan's educational sector, is set to redefine the norms of assessment and grading. This is what the online news articles have to say on this topic, but is that going to be the case? Has the Federal Board really found a golden goose to fix all of its problems? Let's roll back a little for some context on this announcement. FBISE has never been known for its reputation when it comes to checking of exams. Putting the issue of corruption and cheating in different cities aside, metric and inter students are well aware of the fact that giving a board exam is like playing roulette. There's a low chance of getting decent examiners who would check your paper in all honesty for all exams. Both teachers and students know that some will face some bad luck, and that's just a part of life, A student who's on the top of their class might get 10 fewer marks than expected by sheer luck, and they won't be able to do anything about it since you cannot ask for rechecking. You can only ask for recounting. 10 marks is a huge deal when you are at the top of your class, and that margin significantly affects your ranking. And for others, it means losing the chance to get an admission in the university of your choice. Even with this unfair recounting system, students line up in thousands for recounting, betting on a chance of it being a counting mistake rather than a checking mistake. The board charges the students for each recounting, and after standing in a long line, you get a chance to sit with your paper and count your marks. The students would clearly see their correct answers being marked wrong, and they wouldn't be able to do anything about it because they can only recount. Now, with the latest update to this process, you don't even get a chance to take a peek at your exam. You just have to trust their word that it was recounted. But why is the exam checking process based on luck? Why is this process so unfair? Well, most decent teachers would never want to go through the hassle of checking board exams in the first place. I know that at the time, my teachers didn't go for it. And why is that? Well, it's a thankless job. For each exam paper checked, the teacher gets paid approximately rupees 19, and to make the trip worth it, a teacher would need to check 100 to 200 exam papers in a day. That's a lot of papers for a single person. So the eligibility process for checking is quite low. All you need is a degree or diploma with some teaching experience. Examiners go to mark as many papers as they can. When your goal is to check a large number of papers, you can't possibly expect quality checking. The effort isn't worth it, so you don't have qualified checkers checking the exams. A metric teacher. In 2022, a SLO-based system was announced in which the checking process was moved online. For this to work, the students needed to place their answers in the correct place. A scanned version of the paper is available to the examiner. This e-checking system hasn't been the best, and in 2022, major issues were found in the results of 4,000 students that applied for e-checking. And the same kind of thing occurred in 2023. A head examiner said that during the manual exam system, head examiners and sub-examiners had great working relations as the head could check the marking of the sub-examiners. However, in the e-marking system, the role of the head examiners is extremely limited, adding that there was a need to bring improvement in the e-marking system. But the FBISE chairman blames the issues on the students writing answers in the wrong place, and he claims that the people who complain about the new system are only the ones who benefit from the previous one. Here, he also made the cursed announcement. We were also thinking about artificial intelligence based marking. So, what if there were no teachers to blame? I mean, BICE automated a part of the system through MCQ checking years ago. Why not do it for the subjective part? If the checker is a singular automated entity, it would be assumed that the fault must lie with the student and not the checker. I mean, humans make mistakes, but computer programs cannot make mistakes. So an automated checker is going to be perfect, right? Right? Well, at the end of 2023, the board published 2 job openings: developers for generative artificial intelligence. Looking at the responsibilities for the role, it's clear that they want someone who is mostly going to use OpenAI's APIs for their workflow, which is basically the ChatGPT API. And it's also clear that these positions are for the development of the automated assessment system, among other things. Sajid Ali is a psychometrician at FBISE, and he is responsible for the tests and assessments of the SLO based system. He has been pretty excited about using ChatGPT for the assessments before as well, and we can take a look at his article on how the FBISE wants to proceed with this system. FBISE is venturing into the domain of AI for assessments. We are currently developing an AI assessment system for open-ended responses. This aims to combine the precision and the efficiency of machine learning algorithms, ensuring accurate, unbiased, and timely evaluations. Such a system not only streamlines the grading process but also promises consistency in scoring, paving the way for a more modernized approach to large-scale educational assessments. Now that we have established that this is not mere speculation, this is happening, and the way it will work is through relying on large language models, or LLMs. To be precise, the ChatGPT API is going to be used in order to grade the examinations. We can talk about why this is a bad idea. Let's focus on the assumptions that Sajid is making while talking about AI-based assessments. He is under the assumption that using AI will make the process accurate and unbiased. For ages, we have known that computer programs do not make a mistake. A computer knows that 2 plus 2 is 4. And even after you do 2 plus 2 a billion times, it will always tell you 4. So it's not completely unusual to extend the same belief towards AI and large language models. I mean, AIs and large language models are still computers. They are going to have the same properties, right? LLMs should always be correct and should always grade the same answer with the same score, right? Unfortunately for us, this isn't the case. Large language models by nature are non-deterministic. This is one of the biggest problems with these models at the moment. In traditional computer systems, when you give an input to something and change nothing, the output will always be the same. We do not expect that from LLMs or large language models. LLMs are prone to hallucinate. They will make facts up. LLMs are biased. They are likely to agree with you even when you are wrong. These problems are deeply rooted and haven't been solved. Researchers at OpenAI and Google are actively doing research to improve LLMs, but Relying on LLMs where accuracy is mission critical is dumb, especially when you are under the belief that the automated checker is going to be accurate. Two developers that are using APIs to automate ChatGPT will not be able to patch this problem. This cannot be fixed when you rely on models that have these issues built in. To exemplify and prove my point that this isn't some hypothetical rare case, I am going to assume the job of these developers and do exactly what they are going to do. Use the ChatGPT API to check an exam. For this, let's take one of the simplest topics of 9th grade physics. A popular short answer in 9th grade exam is define torque. We are going to make an automated system that uses ChatGPT to create the student's answer. The way to do something like this is called prompt engineering, and basically you gaslight ChatGPT into assuming a role and then asking it to do something. You then take the response that it gives you and format it as you like. There you go, that's all you needed to know. You are now qualified for a $100,000 per year job. So, what I'm going to do is to prompt engineer ChatGPT into assuming the role of an examiner that grades students. I will tell it to grade the answer out of 2 since it is a short answer. I am now going to give it the question that it is supposed to grade. Since I want to minimize ChatGPT making assumptions about the answer and coming up with its own definition of torque, which can either be too simple or too advanced, I will tell it the answer that it should be expecting from the student. For the answers, I will just find online notes or guides for 9th grade physics and copy the expected answer from there. Now, I will tell ChatGPT what the student has given as their answer. To make this work, as a developer, I will give the API a different answer for each of the students, and the expectation is that the API or ChatGPT should always get the answer correctly and give me a score, which can automatically be marked against their exam using some program magic we don't care about. As long as our ChatGPT gaslit examiner does its job perfectly, we are good to go. For the student's answer, I will grab a different guidebook and get the answer from there instead. The student should now get 2 out of 2 since they are both perfect answers from guidebooks, and that's what a human examiner would grade. Arguably, the student's answer might be better than the expected answer, to be honest. ChatGPT has a different idea. It didn't like the student deviating even slightly from the expected answer. Even when it is an exact match from a guidebook, it marked it 1.5. We don't want that behavior, so I told ChatGPT that the answer doesn't need to be exact. ChatGPT still grades the answer 1.5. It didn't like the example that the student gave because it was slightly different from the expected answer. We are trying to get rid of memorization through SLOs, so we want to improve it further. This time I asked it to be really generous in its grading. Nope, still 1.5, and it still doesn't like the differing example. So what if I ask it to focus on the theoretical concept so that it tries to infer meanings from the expected and the student answers and compare the results instead? This time I really forced it to mark it 2 out of 2 if the student has a sound theoretical base. And it worked. Time to ship it and grade 100,000 exams with it, right? Well, not so fast. I tried to give it the same answer, but I completely messed up the examples. One of the examples has nothing to do with torque. A human examiner would circle the bad examples and grade it 1.5 out of 2. But our automated checker still gives it a 2. Why? Well, I told you before that it's not hard to make LLMs hallucinate and believe in something incorrectly. It finds no issue with the examples that aren't related to talk. Now I made the answer even worse. Half of the definition is going to be correct, but I'm going to badly change the answer. I will give it the wrong answer that torque is called transition of force, and I will say that torque is a scalar and provide no formula. The examples will also be incorrect as before. It still finds no issue with my answer. It correctly identifies that I had a weird transition of force, but it does not identify the bad examples or that I am calling it a scalar. It gets a 2. Like I said, LLMs are good at believing you. Finally, remember the 2 out of 2 answer with the actual correct answer, examples and everything else? I try to give it the exact same answer multiple times. So here I'm imagining that many students are answering it correctly and giving it the exact same answer. You would expect it to always grade it 2 out of 2, right? LLMs are deterministic, right? After the 4th student, it finds an issue with the example. I did not change the example. It randomly decided that the example is now incorrect. Let me make it clear. I did not change anything. I just ran the same code a couple of times and the scoring changed for the new student. So this is worse than human checkers in terms of consistency. I imagine that FBISE will have a huge banner on their website. Automated checkers can never be wrong or biased, and they will remove the rechecking process entirely. But it will be a false belief, as we know that LLMs aren't deterministic in their outputs. LLMs aren't reliable good verifiers. It literally says that as a disclaimer. You might be thinking here, basement guy should engineer a different prompt and work hard to perfect the prompt and the way to grade it. Well, that defeats what I'm trying to show, which is that LLMs themselves have underlying problems. It is known for a fact that even fine-tuning LLMs does not get rid of its biasness. In mission-critical systems where you are grading exams in a binary way, this system does not work. I think that the board should be highly cautious of their next step. They are taking the future of tens of thousands of human beings with very little care. Without extensive research and validation of LLMs as a grading system, it will not work. Such a training requires a large human workforce in order to reduce these issues enough to use it in a real system. 2 people cannot do that. You need the workforce equivalent to what OpenAI used in order to convert GPT-3 into ChatGPT, which isn't going to happen. This will look like a quick victory, but it will be detrimental as a system. Years of actual work is needed for this. Work that doesn't rely on any APIs, especially that of ChatGPT. Do I need to mention that even the perfect prompt will stop behaving the same way after a while because ChatGPT keeps changing and you have no way to control the changes in ChatGPT? Personally, I think that the board should make a list of trusted schools and make checking mandatory for all teachers in those schools. If schools just cross-check each other's exam papers randomly, this would be a much better and digestible system. I'm sure that the business side of such a system could be figured out pretty easily. Just ask each school to maintain a database of their current teachers in your database, and from there, assign papers randomly to reliable teachers that teach those classes. Thank you for going through my lengthy essay. Kindly leave a sub and try my other stuff maybe. It's pretty good, I promise. I mean, this takes a lot of effort. Ensuring accurate, unbiased, and timely evaluations. Evaluations.